Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Line in Zion. Here I am once again. Today I'm talking to you guys about the Israel US alliance. Wow, it's a big topic and it's becoming very, how should I say, controversial, you could say, because you have the hard right and the hard left in the US that are basically coming out and saying we don't want to be really good friends with Israel. And they drag us into all these wars. They take advantage. It's not Israel first. On the hard right, MAGA isolationists. On the hard left, they say that Israel is committing a genocide. And in the end of the day, Israel needs to deal with the fact that this there's not a wide consensus now across the aisles in the U.S. That being said, let's be very clear. Israel takes all this money because America wanted Israel to. What do I mean by that? Every time Israel was forced to deal with its neighbors, whether it was in Lebanon, whether it was with Egypt, whether it was Jordan, whether it was the Palestinians in the Oslo process, America dangled security guarantees and dollars in front of it and say, take it because this will mitigate whatever risks are implied by retreating from actual territories with people who really don't like you. And we got your back, and we're going to arm you. And in times of need, we'll arm you even more. So those were the security guarantees over and over again that have gone over decades. Should have Israel taken them? That's a question for pragmatists, realists, people who over the years can come out one way and then a couple of years later can see where the relationship has taken it and change their mind. I, for one, for the last, I don't know, 2 decades, have always said I don't like this transactional relationship. I feel like it's a vassal state. I think Israel needs to get more on its own footing in the relationship to create more parity and equality in terms of benefit, rather than what looks very much on the surface as a vassal state taking money from, the big brother or overlord. It's not good. Now, fast forward to October 7th, and we see a overbearing, meddlesome Biden administration with Blinken and Sullivan basically telling Israel, we're going to slow walk it, we're going to threaten pauses if you don't do what we say, in an existential war around 7 fronts. And it's really impacted the ability for Israel to be able to execute a strategy that would have been in its best interest over the last 15 months. And we're dealing with that fallout. Lessons have been learned. Hard lessons have been learned. I wish they were. Israel never put itself in this position in the first place, and this is one of the critiques of the conceptia of these national security goons and policy thinkers over these last 30 years, that they didn't see this train coming. That's a bit silly. I did. 100% wrote articles that have been published about it. Because you have like an Obama in 2013 in the Gaza operation, I think it was Cast-led, where he restricted Hellfire missiles to Israel. I mean, we saw the writing on the wall. So, you have a U.S. who's a superpower, who have global interests, who are really interested mainly in stability. And you have Israel, who has a national security interest where they're fighting jihadi, genocidal maniacs, either by tyrants like El Sisi, who are just trying to keep the people calm and having to throw them some red meat every once in a while. You get to a rising Turkey, to Iran and all its proxies that try to create a ring of fire. Israel has its own interests, and they don't always line up with American interests. And in that situation, what does Israel do? Well, when you become so dependent on Big Brother, it limits your options, and that's what Israeli strategic planners has done to Israel over the decades, to its folly, to its material impacts. But lessons have been learned, and thankfully, I mean, you could say we had to pay for those lessons. We did over these last 15 months, but now Israel's moving towards where it should be, which is self-reliance, diversification of its procurement strategies, building more homegrown weapon systems, and you're already starting to see investments in that ground. We won't be in this situation again, hopefully. But it needs to be said, Israel and the American relationship, that this money was carrot sticks that had been sort of offered to Israel every single time America wanted it to make some diplomatic risky moves with its neighbors, and that's how we got to this situation. America wasn't there giving Israel money in 1948 when it won its War of Independence. It wasn't there in the Sinai campaign in 56 when it took itself to the Sinai. Actually, Eisenhower forced Israel to give back that territory, only for Nasser to start, making threats in 66 and closing the Straits of Tehran, which, by the way, is a casus belli, which is an act of war. And was what was catalyzed the Six-Day War, which again weren't using American arms or aid money. So three wars, Israel did okay. So I'm not so super worried. There's precedent for Israel having to act on its own. Back then, it was the British and the French that were supplying a lot of Israel, more the French. But that changed in '67. Lyndon Johnson saw a winner, and Americans love a winner, and backed Israel and started the relationship there only when Israel was winning. So fast forward to 2025, where do we go from here? Well, the quick answer is Israel's a world-class economy now, a high knowledge-based economy. GDP, it's in one of the OECD countries. It's one of the most educated populations on the face of the planet. It does have its economic issues that they're really going to have to figure out, and soon. A cartel like business practices, very low consumer welfare culture, and oligopoly issues are replete in the economy. But moving forward, what America and Israel should be going to is not here's money, and though you can make the argument it's getting spent in America, creating jobs and all that stuff, and it's actually good because now you have those carrot and sticks that Biden was able to use. That should not be the case. It's not a healthy relationship. Where we should be moving forward is building beautiful, big, great, lethal weapon systems together. Building on to the successes of some of the things that we've already done together, like the Iron Dome, like the aero missile systems, like building the F-35 wings and some of the UAVs and some of the surface-to-air anti-air denial missile systems like Spider. These are the things that we should be doing together. Manufacturing partnerships, and creating more parity in the relationship. This would be good for Israel, and for a lot of people on the American side, it would be very, very more welcome than just giving out money, which right now America's got its own house to deal with. Fires in California, a deficit that's run away from it, massive inflation. It's spread thin, and it's time for Israel to remove this, how should I say, eyesore from because it's obvious. Like, my opinion is that this is actually the best money America could spend, to be honest with you, and it's great money for America, but it's not good for Israel. Israel is the loser in this situation, and I think October 7th and the downstream effects of that relationship and the nature of it has really shown itself in its true colors. I think it really puts America, and it's an advantage to America. So, but that's fine. I'm happy that there's these radical sides of the equation, both on the left and right, who are like, we don't want to do it. That's great. That's great. Israel being able to build its own stuff, being self-reliant, will mean it's unrestrained, it's untethered, it will be able to act much more in its interest, and that will be healthier for Israel. It'll be healthier for the region, and I think healthier for the world. But taking the money, acting like a vassal state, is not helping Israeli interests with a superpower that has to deal with 55 Muslim states, 22 Arab states, 500,000 Arabs in the region to 9 million. Israel's never going to be able to do well in that conversation when you have American presidents sitting there getting advisors from all over who care about not just Israel. Now, sometimes you have American presidents that are, how should I say, looking at the situation and see that Israel is that tip of the spear. It's the American aircraft carrier. And they're smart. And knowing that they give that money allows them to have a certain level of control of where that aircraft carrier goes and how it deploys itself. But you know what? We're seeing that a lot of Americans, it's becoming a divisive issue. Great. And Israel should pivot that partnership into something more of a manufacturing relationship. Look, Israel should not feel guilty that it wanted to rely on security arrangements and guarantees that America provide for decades and decades, and saying now it's time to, this is when we need it. Um, but moving forward, we need to learn the lessons of what the Sullivan, Blinken, and Biden administration, served Israel a very, very hard pill to swallow. Beyond that, look, I love America. I think America is an amazing country. It's a marvelous experiment in self-governance. The U.S. Constitution is probably one of the greatest man-made political documents ever created. Its story is incredible reading, let alone just from a political science historical perspective, fascinating. So this doesn't come from a negative place. I actually think it will be healthier for both, to create a more level playing field in the relationship. And it sounds like that's what, a lot of Americans would prefer at this point. So, where we land on this also tells you, are you like, do you see Israel as something that is gonna, weak, and the moment we start getting money, we're just gonna crumple? Or do you see Israel intrinsically as having the strengths within that country, within that nation, that will rise to the top? I'm of the kind that believes that Israel's being tethered right now, and when we let go of those purse strings, you're going to see something different. And I actually look forward to the day. I encourage that day. I think it's better for Israel's national interest. And I think we need to learn, what an overbearing president can do in terms of a country that's relied on those guarantees, in a time of crisis. We appreciate all the weapons that we've gotten, don't get me wrong, and they're critical, but we can never be in this situation again. That's what I wanted to say. Hopefully, you guys, it makes you think a little bit. Till next time.